welcome to another Primetime Muscle. Tim Wilkins, as always, with Tarek El-Guindy.
Thank you, Tim. Great to be here. I love the tie with the hanky. You are flying today. Cannot say the same thing about Shaft, but it's okay.
And the one and only Chris Cormier, who, as much as you get compliments on our fan pages for your commentary, the wardrobe gets a lot of love.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you. It's good to be here. Now, I do also am a fan of the hanky. I'm going to have to pull that one day. I like that.
You know, they sell some pretty cool stuff at the Burlington Coat Factory.
Yeah?
Yeah. You should venture out of Chanel.
We found something we agree on, Chris.
And I want to
You look good, Tim. You are the common ground between Chris Cormier and I.
I have become the Switzerland of this show with just a pocket splash.
And just for you guys out there, he does wear his board shorts underneath the suit. He does.
I'm ready to compete at any moment. So,
He's ready to go.
Speaking of board shorts, we are not quite as up to the minute. Some of these things, such as Olympia TV.
Plug that in. Subscribe right now to Olympia TV.
Subtle plug.
If you don't, your life is going to be miserable.
I was hoping you'd do that. You had a live recently, and you had some of the top competitors on there from the men's physique. You had the reigning Olympias on there. You had Aaron Banks, who's just chomping at the bit to get that. Brandon Hendrickson. And you had former four-time Olympia Jeremy Buendia. And it got heated, as one would hope.
Yes, Tim. Yes, it got heated. You know, we do these lives because we like to bring knowledge. We like to bring, some type of excitement to the category. And those guys do a great job. But I didn't know that they had some direct messages sent to each other. I didn't know that. And listen, I'm one of those guys. I don't run away from controversy.
No, you should stir.
I know. Hey, I like a little bit of, but I didn't know they actually had direct messages saying, hey, I don't like you and this and that. And Kyron Holden, who's the nicest guy in the world, said, well, Aaron Banks gets this rep, and I just believe he's confident.
Right.
I'm like, what kind of rep does he get? So right off the bat, I was a little surprised because Aaron Banks is one of the sweetest, nicest guys. But there's tension between Aaron Banks and Brandon Hendrickson. And obviously, you're talking about the two best men's physique competitors in today's game.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then we have Jeremy Buendia there, who's the icon. Nobody can deny that. He won 4 times. He exploded the men's physique division.
He did, but Aaron Banks was quick to shove to play whack-a-mole with Buendia and say, I don't care about your past titles. That's the past. And not really honor what he'd done for the sport, for the Olympia position right there, and just say, you're old news, which did not sit well with Jeremy.
Well, what he said was, listen, Aaron is a phenomenal competitor, but what he said was, he said to Jeremy, you're not relevant. No. Jeremy, no, that's what he said, Chris. He said, you're not relevant. And I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. Jeremy Buendia is extremely relevant, and he's an icon of the sport. Now, you got to put yourself in Aaron Banks' position, which is almost where Jeremy Buendia was about 5-6 years ago. You are at the top of the game, and these guys, they need to train their minds to go to the gym and kill it. So they need to have an enemy. And what Aaron Banks is doing, he's creating enemies in his mind. He's doing what Chris Cormier did with Flex Wheeler and what Flex Wheeler did with Chris Cormier. He is my enemy. So a lot of times we take it personal. Oh, he's saying something negative about Brandon. He's saying something negative about Jeremy. What he is doing is the same thing that Jeremy did 4 or 5 years ago. He goes, I am here to win. Everybody's fighting for second place. We thought, some people that didn't understand the sport said, well, Jeremy's being cocky. No, he's not being cocky. It's the kind of mindset you need to put yourself in order to be better. Wouldn't you agree with that, Chris?
Oh, 100%, Tarek, because like I said, I did the same thing with Flex. I did the same thing with many competitors. That's all I thought about was downplaying what they actually have that is good and just looking at their weaknesses and looking at how I'm going to beat this guy, but I couldn't glorify another man's physique and try to beat him at the same time.
We talked a lot about this. You didn't just do that for your own benefit. You did that a lot to get in people's heads.
Yeah, for sure. It's like I remember I waited for a competitor, Dennis Newman, because he was a hot he was a hot commodity coming for my title. And I waited like 2 hours at the weigh-ins just to wait for him to come through the door so I could say some shit to him. I did that, that's for sure. And I played these games, but years later, when you come off your porch and you can talk to these guys and have conversations, and I was like, "Did that mess with you?" He's like, "Man, it fucked me up so bad." I was like, "Oh shit, oh sorry."
we gotta bleep it.
We can.
Okay.
This episode's gonna be
so
Morse code. Enjoy.
I get how they can get on each other's nerves or get into each other's head. But yeah, I was watching and I thought, but you can't take away from what Jeremy did for the sport. And he made it cool.
The fact that he's not in the 2022 Physique Olympia doesn't make him irrelevant. As a matter of fact, he's shooting for a comeback potentially 2023. Have either of you seen the most recent pictures of Jeremy?
Yes, I know Jeremy well, and I know that he's a lot bigger than he's ever been.
A lot.
So the thing is, Brandon has a stronghold on the look, on the mentality. Has the judges love his look, and he brings it every time. He can even if he's a tad off, he's still very, very good. He can have a little bit of water and still look very, very good. I think his physique is the standard right now. He has everything. It's not like he's missing a body part, and he's well proportioned from his arms, his chest, back, abs, and everything. Great smile, and I just think that he's a standard, and it's going to take something to take him out of there.
Now, when we get to the top of the sport, like with bikini, where we say, we don't know how you do it. You look at these guys and you say, all right, we have 15 perfect physiques, and you're looking for minutia. You start putting Aaron Banks next to Brandon. You start putting, I'm trying to think of the other top, like a Kyron Holden up there. You put these guys up next to each other, and the shoulders are all perfectly capped. The proportions, the density of the back, everything that a physique competitor should have, they have, and then some. How do you start to pick them apart? And Aaron Banks made some big improvements this year.
So Aaron Banks has one of the best backs, and he can beat a lot of guys from the back, including Kyron and Brandon. Brandon is genetically more gifted than most. He has a small waist and he's bubbly. The muscle is bubbly. I'm not saying
busybody, I call it.
It's just bubbly. There's no gaps on his physique. Everything is well put together. He's genetically superior than most. Kyron Holden is the guy that can challenge Brandon from the front and can challenge Aaron from the back. Aaron will probably lose the front to Brandon, and Brandon will probably lose the back to Aaron. But it's bodybuilding is whoever closes the distance. And like Chris said, if Brandon is super conditioned, it's hard to beat him. It's very hard to beat him. But he has a tendency to hold a little bit of water. And when he holds a little bit of water, he becomes a little bit more vulnerable. Aaron Banks has an amazing back. If he adds a little bit more chest and his conditioning is at peak condition, he can surprise. And Kyron Holden has everything. He's the hybrid that can be both of them. And if he's conditioned, he can also be. So it's a three-way horse right now, but some guys can surprise. You have Nicholas Coe. You have this guy, Buwan Chauhan. He just won a show in San Francisco. He's incredible. And I think the men's physique guys is going to be a little bit of a mix this time. But, Chris is right. You're talking about the number 1 and 2. Tim, if they say something that impacts the other guy mentally, it's perfectly fine. If Aaron Banks is attacking them and Brandon has some doubt, that benefits Aaron Banks. And if Brandon gets pissed off and saying, is this guy challenging me publicly, and goes to the gym and murders the gym, that helps Brandon. This is a mental game. They're playing against each other.
Well, and Chris, as much as it's good for each other and getting in each other's heads, it's great for the sport to have these rivalries and people coming out to see who's going to beat who. Their fans go at each other.
That makes people want to watch. That makes people want to show up and show out. And these guys are going to go at it. They're going to be giving it their all in the gym. And Tim, it's like, I needed that. I loved it. I liked it. I loved it. And I wanted it. And I sought after some kind of confrontation because I know it's gonna just drive me to go to the gym and give it my all.
Who got in your head? Who got at you that
No
pushed
one
you?
got in my head.
Who was
No,
your
but
enemy?
No, Chris, shut up. Shut up, Chris.
Damn
It
it.
wasn't just the drugs that got in your
Shut your
head.
damn mouth.
It was a lot of people that
Shut
got in
up.
your head, okay?
No, I wasn't. No, but I
Don't
was-
tell me Flex Wheeler didn't
I-
get in your head, okay?
Flex could never get in my head.
Yeah, sure.
Flex could never get in my head.
You and
I always
Flex,
thought I was better
you
than
guys
Flex.
locked. Didn't you say that you guys locked eyes romantically at Goals in Venice? What
I
happened?
just- I didn't say lock.
Even Nico is
I
laughing
said,
right
look,
now.
I said, look.
When the director is laughing, you know I'm right.
I said we would look at each other in a form of fashion of like.
So he got
Yeah,
in
but-
your head.
No.
Don't deny it, Shaft.
Check this out, bro. I know you didn't compete.
I did. I
No,
can
you
take
got
off my
ready for
shirt
it.
right now and beat you
Let's
in
go,
front of
baby.
the camera.
Let's go.
I take off my shirt.
If
I'll
I'd had
beat you
his
right now in
microphone-
front of the
If I'd
camera.
had his microphone
Okay?
on, if I'd had his microphone on, it would
So,
be. It would be
You're bacon and
These are the times when I
You
need to
ate
step
bacon
up.
this morning.
So guys, so we got this. We're just weeks away from deciding who this is going to be. You're saying it's just a matter for Brandon just coming in the way he needs to look. Just coming in.
Brandon, I hate to agree with Chris, but he's right. Brandon is busy on the body, he's bubbly. And if he doesn't hold water, he's really, really, really good.
Aaron made the improvements on the shoulders. His back is already a winner. What's left?
Chiron? Well, Chiron.
Chiron Holden, you cannot count out Chiron.
Because he just won the Legion for the third time, I believe. And I don't know, man. I like his physique. And he's thick.
Chiron Holden is the only bodybuilder in the history of the sport to win a back-to-back show on the same weekend. This guy won a show on Saturday in San Diego, California, drove to Reno and won a show on Sunday in 2021.
Wow.
Who does that?
The real deal.
Who does that?
Did
He's
you
the
do
real
that?
deal. Well, I'm calling him.
Oh, the real deal. That's,
I'm loading
that's-
him for the moment.
Wow.
He's being real.
That's
he's a real deal.
But to
man.
even do that, to even drive.
Chiron's a real deal, dude.
To drive
He
that
is,
far.
he is so good. And this guy has won the New York Pro. He's won so many shows. He's won more. I think he's close to 15 pro wins in the men's physique category. He's a former Mr. USA's. If he wins the Mr. Olympia, nobody would be surprised.
Well, and it's one thing to say, all right, I'm in condition this week. What do we want to do in the next week to 3 weeks while I'm here? But to say, I'm in condition. You guys get in the car. Get in the car. We're going to drive to see Chris Mins and do a little something up at Legion.
Yeah. Pack up the kids and let's go get this one.
Yeah. So where was this left after the Olympia TV? Did the guys obviously
They don't like each other, Tim.
Okay.
They don't like each other, and we're gonna have to, they're not gonna be, taking pictures at the check-ins. They're not gonna be wishing each other good luck backstage, and they're not gonna want to lose to each other. They don't like each other. Brandon Hendrickson and Aaron Banks, they don't like each other. That's perfectly fine. Compete, and whoever wins is the best man on that day.
I will say, as a fan, I'm looking forward to these guys, but as a fan, Buendia has always inspired me. I'm looking forward to him getting back on stage in 2023, but I wouldn't be shocked at the size he's at right now and the condition that he's at if he didn't go classic. That would impress me.
Buendia is the kind of guy that can beat you from the front, he can beat you from the back. But what Jeremy Buendia has done, he has created a movement that's the men's physique pride of having those board shorts and the posing. I go judge shows in the Philippines, and the guys are posing exactly like Jeremy did at the Olympia 4 or 5 years ago. He just enticed the entire world, all these young guys, to say, hey, follow me, and we're going to make this category big. He deserves credit. I like Jeremy.
Give him a lot of
and
credit.
even when he was crazy out of his mind, I still had love for him.
All right, Tarek and Chris, that is a perfect segue. We're going to talk a lot more. We're going to talk some bikini when we come back on Primetime Muscle.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
And we're back on Primetime Muscle with an interesting topic. One of the biggest winners a lot of years, but especially this year, Ashley Kaltwasser, flying state to state and show to show, just sweeping up titles. Was it fair? Of course, it's fair. We're going to start there. It's fair because that's what she does for a living. But is it taking the qualifications from other competitors and really starting something within the sport?
Hell no. Hell no. She's saving the Olympia a lot of money. She is the Olympia's best employee. She's saying, you're not getting a qualification under my watch. You're not getting your flight. You're not getting your per diem. You're not getting your hotel. You need to beat me. Okay? Hey, I give her a lot of credit. Look, put the camera on me. Ashley K. Girl, go win every show you can. Go in Siberia, win a show there. Go in Vegas. Go in Washington. Go in Canada. Win a show one weekend, and then the next weekend, go win another show. And if one girl complains that you're winning all these shows, just look at her in the eyes and say, come get me, honey. Come beat me. That's what you should do, Ashley.
All right. And cut. So, Chris, we talk about this all the time.
I thought you cut.
Guys don't compete enough at the pro level. Men, especially Open, 212 Classic. Maybe there's not enough venues, but they're just not putting it out there, conditioning, getting better. Here's someone, a lot of the bikini division does this, who's out there just week after week, just working it.
Well, Tim, you have some girls that I know, that I see set out year after year, or just once a year, or they're putting off shows. AK-47, I call her. Ashley K is AK-47 in my book, because she just come and just spray up the field every time she comes out there. If she's not first, she's probably second, or in that top 3. I don't know how many top 3s she has, but I guarantee you that, you know, with the mindset of, I got to do this while I can type of thing. That's what I would say. It's like when you compete, I mean, you have a certain amount of time. It's not going to be forever. So you got to take out as many people as you can as you building your legacy. And that's just going to help you in the future after your career is done, because you never know what catastrophic thing might happen. The trials and tribulations are real, and she's taking full advantage of it. Go ahead, AK-47.
So
I like the nickname. AK-47. Ashley Kaltwasser, 47. She's praised the field. She is incredible. Man, she is a former athlete, track and field athlete. She can do gymnastic. She's incredible, man. I mean, give her credit. She's one of the best bodybuilders in history. She wins every weekend, okay? And when she takes second place, which is very rare, she never complains. She never bitches about it. She goes the next week and she wins the show. I give her a lot of credit. I want to give credit to her coach, Adam Bonilla. They go to the shows and they want to win everything. That's the mentality we want. Could you imagine we have bodybuilders or men's physique guys? Chiron is kind of like that. He wants to win shows. I like that attitude. Go win shows. And she's always in shape. Always in shape.
Always in shape, but this is an interesting thing coming up, because as much as she's cutting the field for herself by having fewer people qualified, it's just genius, but you think it's not going to get any easier, because she's still got the reigning Miss Olympia, Jennifer Dory. You got Issa Pacini. You got Janet. Who else? Ashley's a former Olympian as well. Do we have any other former?
Laura Lee.
Laura Lee Chapados. Well, so you've got that top 5 to 7 doesn't get any easier no matter how that top 10 to 20 look.
Tim, I get a chance to judge these competitors. I get a chance to talk to them. Let me tell you, I talk to professional open bodybuilders, and I talk to some of these bikini competitors. They're assassins. They are assassins. They might smile to each other backstage, but they want to annihilate each other on stage. they love beating each other. They love the rivalry, okay? They have pictures of their opponents in their fridge, and they punch that fridge every day, okay? They hate each other. They want to win. This is professional sport. If one day we tell them, hey, you girls can tackle each other right now backstage, they would scramble faster than the guys.
Consider it done.
Women are so competitive. They do not like when you pick another woman over them. They are competitive. I love judging them. I love the rivalry. It's a war between them. And Ashley Kay is one of the best.
He said it. I mean, what can I say behind that? She does her thing, and we're looking forward to this big matchup in Las Vegas. So, Tim,
I look at this.
I
look at these week after week, the ones that I get to MC, and the difference between first and fifth can be so minute at that level. And then you get a little deeper, it starts to really spread out at some of these shows. Where do you start putting these girls? She gets there. How hard is it to maintain that shape? When was her last show? Was it 2 weeks ago that she won?
So here's one of the mysteries, because a lot of people say, well, your body gets tired. That's all we hear about it. Pretty soon, some bodybuilders are going to come up to us and say, I can only compete once every 5 years. It's ridiculous. You're a professional athlete. There's football players playing every weekend, and they're hitting each other. So there's a lot of bodybuilders. Chris Cormier competed sometimes 10, 12 times a year. And Ashley Kay, right, a.k.a. 47, is showing everybody, I'm in great shape. She's always in a great mood. So it's not like she's depleted and suffering and her life is miserable. She's always in a good mood, and she's competing a lot. And she's winning, and she's making her legacy. She can beat Jennifer Dory. She can beat Laura Lee Chapados. She can beat Isa Piscini, Maureen Blanquisco. The difference between them, Chris, is so minute. If you're talking about the Olympia 2021, 2019, those were 1-point decisions. What does that mean? That means that some judges thought the other competitor was better. And, by the rules of the game, you look at the amount of judges, you cut some of the high scores and low scores, and some judges actually thought Laura Lee was better that day. That's perfectly fine.
Well, here's a big question, because didn't it used to be this way, that if someone who won was already qualified, the second place person got it? If the first two were qualified, third place got the qualification, but now it's just a straight point system.
That's back in the 90s. Yes.
Back in the 90s?
Yes. But, I don't know. I just think going from show to show like that, I think it's the best way to hone in your physique. Because if you compete, if you peak out this week, let's say there's another show the next week or a few weeks away, you can also find a better way of looking. So it can be a better package than you thought when you peaked out and really fresh for the show.
So that brings up two great questions, Chris, because a lot of people are going to want to know this at every level. So unlike Kyron Holden, who makes the drive overnight and just wins 2 shows, what's that sweet spot to make adjustments? Is it a 2-week or a 3-week spot where you say, you know what, we can make a little tweak in the diet, we can, do a little more glutes?
It's easy for me to do a show and not try to peak out the first show, and then if there's a more important show coming up that you really want to dial in, then you have an easier time to make little slight adjustments with your carbohydrates and your proteins and your water intake, and you can make even a better package there. And then there's even a show after that. You can even do a different package for that one, and hopefully, even if you went to 2 or 3 shows, you could still look great.
So as a coach, my second question, you say, all right, we've got 3 wins this year, we've got a couple of seconds, we've been in 8 shows, but the big one, the mega show, the Olympia, is December 17th for our division, or December 17th. What time do you say, all right, 2 months, is it 8 weeks, 10 weeks, where you say, all right, that's enough, let's lay low, let our body recover? What's the sweet spot in your mind?
6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
You want to have a certain look at 8 weeks out. Abs want to be in. 4 weeks out, you want your legs to be looking right, and glutes. 2 weeks out, you want to be ready, and then just cruise on into the show. That'd be the ideal look.
I gotta agree with Chris, but here's what I would recommend bodybuilders. You want to qualify to the Mr. Olympia. If you look at what Blessing Awadibu, Charles Griffin, Mohammed Shaban, even Hassan Mustafa. There's a sequence of shows right around May. You have the New York Pro, and you have the California, you had the Indy Pro, you have the Toronto Pro, and then right after you have the Puerto Rico Pro. It's all in the same time, right there, May, beginning of June. As a bodybuilder, that's a great time for you to do 2 shows. 2 shows, not 1, 2. Even if you win, like Blessing did. Okay, Coach, were we better here or were we better at the New York Pro? Did we test this? Did we did this? Which one was better? Did I pose better here? 2 shows. Even if you win, you do 2, and then you get to see your body, and then you prepare for the Olympia on a different prep.
Pull water a little later, a little earlier, a little more carbs, less carbs. Makes perfect sense. So here we are, weeks away from the Olympia, and you're saying to yourself, all right, we're going to be top 5, but who are we looking at? Because with Sandy, we really talked about the right amount of softness. We talked about the right amount of, with a bikini person, not having the striations, not having the visible abs, but having the muscularity without the definition. What is that sweet spot? Oh, Chris, this is hard for you, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's hard.
This is hard.
Because a lot of them, I mean, a lot of them look great. They have a lot of them have a similar look, and it's just it's very hard to judge. I wouldn't want to judge the bikini, because that's just so tough.
So I'll tell you this, and Chris is right. The bikini is one of the hardest things. And I always tell bikini competitors, you need a soft separation between hamstrings and glutes. Once you start seeing lines on the hamstrings, it's too much. You need to go back and soften up. Lorelie Chapados could have been just a tad softer to avoid some of the lines on the hamstrings, lines that Jennifer Dorie didn't have. The same thing happened when Angelica Teixeira beat Jennifer Ronzetti. Jennifer Ronzetti was at her best, but she had a few lines on the hamstrings. So as a coach, you need to measure, okay, I have the separation between hamstrings and glutes. It is a soft separation, and there's no lines on the hamstrings. And that's the sweet spot for bikini.
Well, with a lot of people making comebacks, I don't think Angelica's going to be one of them. She is loving the baby right now and enjoying being a mom. So we appreciate that. But there's a crazy amount of hype for the Bikini Olympia this year, and there's a crazy amount of hype for this next guy that we're going to be talking about, his physique, the improvements he made, and all his possibilities at this year's Olympia when we come back.
People always ask how I got here. I was willing to work just a little harder than everyone else. Every damn day. If I can have hundreds of hours back, you know I'm gonna grab them. Spending hours prepping chicken, rice, and vegetables, F that. I rely on perfect nutrition. I rely on Trifecta.
And we're back. This last guy that we're talking about is making some big waves. We love everybody's Instagram and social media posts. It gives us a little bit of an insight into the progress they're making. And, of course, a lot of it is good light. A lot of guys that just look amazing standing next to their coach who's either been in or out of the game for about 20 to 30 years. This guy, though, you talk about the real deal. This guy looks good. This guy has a good past and looks like he has a good future. We're talking about Samson Dauda.
So the hype came because he did really well at the Arnold, and people started talking about him. And then now let's give credit. I think, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. He connected with Milos Sarcev. And after he connected with Milos Sarcev, we saw a picture on IG where he looked incredibly huge. So he competed at the Arnold, and he looked really good, impressed people. And people are like, man, Samson Dauda is really good. And we're talking about really nice lines. And then he connects with Milos, and he blows up. He's humongous.
But quality huge.
Quality huge. Like, you can still see his abs. So that picture went viral, and then everybody started talking about it and going like, what's going on? Can this guy... There were videos on the internet saying that this guy could pull a Ronnie Coleman in 1998 and shock the world. And his size is undeniable. I don't know what he did, but he just grew very fast and a lot. So I'm surprised. I can't wait to see him at the Olympia stage.
Now, Chris, great bodybuilder doesn't always make great coach. And Milos was one of my favorites. But does he have a Midas touch? Because he's turning out some winners.
Well, Milos is a I don't know. He likes to take it to the limit, so to speak, when it comes to the training, the diet, the whatever you're doing to prepare for the show. He just like to mash the gas, So I think he was really high up on this guy. Milos thinks he's in the top 5. That's what he keeps talking when I speak to Milos, and he may be right. I mean, he may be. Everyone saw the big game, and like Terry said, that's exactly the recipe that Ronnie had everyone eating off of. That same meal as he came in, as totally transformed his body, and the judges have a lot of respect for him. I know because I speak to him about it. I spoke also to Samson at the Arnold Classic. And I just commended him on his attention to detail with his posing. And, like I said, different times before, I became a fan of his just by the fact that he paid that much attention to the posing. I told him, I said, hey, all you got to do is bring up your back. You bring up your back and a couple little body parts you already had that were great. Make them a little better, and you're fighting for a big title.
Well, let's talk about some of this, the thought behind this and the strategy, because if you're going to mash the gas, I love the thought of hitting it way out and coasting and not hoping magic is going to happen in the last 2 to 4 to 6 weeks, like with me, hoping the Ab Fairy visits between Prejudge and the night show. I mean, that's a really brilliant thing to do, is if you're going to put it all out there 10 weeks out or 8 weeks out, instead of really trying to think that there's some secret formula at the end.
Well, Milos is a great magician. He's been the pioneer of new techniques and new protocols that have worked in the past. And as a competitor, he was an amazing competitor.
Beautiful.
One of the most beautiful physiques. If Milos is saying that he could potentially be in the top 5, or he's guaranteeing he's in the top 5, everybody in the industry should take it seriously, because Milos would not make a statement if he wasn't looking at Samson and saying, I believe you can be there. There's something that Samson needs to pay attention, which is, if you are on that top 5, if you are on that first call out, you need to pose like you belong. And what we see is a lot of guys, they just kind of get happy to be there, right? And then you see the guys that are not happy to be there. They're unhappy that you're there. They think you don't belong. So if he gets a first call out and he's between Nick Walker and Hunter Labrada, they're not going to like him. And they're going to pose like they don't like him. They're going to pose like you shouldn't be here. There is that, aggressiveness in posing. So Samson is one of the nicest guys. But if he gets on that first call out, he needs to mentally put himself in the position, I belong and I'm here to win the show.
Chris, let's talk about both of those things. What was it like that first time you were top 5, and did you just lose it? You go, yeah, I'm here. I'm going to just pose and throw my arms up in the air. Or did you hit it hard like you were going to burst out of your skin? And was there a time when some newcomer comes up and you want to just get off my stage, little man?
Well, Tim, it's a great question. I love it. Being a rookie in the sport, and, people have not thought I belonged, early on, and I believed in myself a lot. But if I was top 6 in my first Olympia, top 6 in my second one, and then I was, I placed a 6th again. I went 7th and 6th, but it came a time where I was like, I'm sick of this 6 shit. I need to get in the top 3. And after 1998, I was pissed off again in New York City at the Madison Square Garden, the Mecca. And I just remember leaving there like, I should have been in the top 3 this year. I felt 1998. If you go back, Tarek, 1998, I thought it should have been in the top 3. Quiet. And then I made a statement on the Road to the Olympia videotape Go back and check it. Check your sources. And I was like, I said, I've been in the top 6 3 times already, and it's time for me to make the jump. It's time for me to have the, I had the cachet. All right, I had the cachet already, but I was like, I need to be in the top 3. And I made a statement, I'm making the top 3. I don't care what anybody says. Or, it was great champions. It was Arnold Classic champions. It was people who've been second in Olympia. It was all these people that I needed to hop over to get there. But I didn't care. It was like, I'm going to work that hard. I'm going to get there. And lo and behold, I hear Jim Mannion say, in the center, Ronnie Coleman. On the left side, Flex Wheeler. He says Wheeler a little funny. And then on the other side, Chris Cormier. And then I was just like, yeah! I went out there like, it was like it was the second coming of Jesus Christ. I was just out there like, man. And then me and Flex gave a big hug and stuff, and it was man, that was the time of my life right there. That show was so perfect for me because I had no cramps, I had nothing but smooth sailing, great posing routine, great show. Ended it the night at C2K that night and had a great time.
And as much as I was enjoying that,
he doesn't even talk about his placing. He talks about the club he ended up. Man!
Everybody know I took third, buddy. You wasn't alive.
Oh man!
You were just coming out of that.
Okay. He mentions the club instead of his placing.
So Tarek, I'm enjoying this story, and I look out at my periphery,
the top 3,
and I see Tarek's head bobbing around like he's the dog on the dash of a 42 or a 62 Impala. So what were you not enjoying the reminiscing, or were you doubting the placement, or where are we headed?
Listen, I'm not the first one, and I won't be the last one. We've had people come to this table and say it many times. Chris Cormier, who's my friend, who's one of the best bodybuilders of all times, could have had 3 or maybe 4 Mr. Olympias. It is a mystery to all of us, or maybe it's not a mystery, but if you talk to them, Chris was a party animal. He loved to party. And many people believed that genetically he was maybe the best one in the 90s, and he was the strongest bodybuilder in the 90s. That's for sure. But he was a party animal.
Now we got to come back.
You were a party animal.
Let's talk about this guy.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about Samson Dauda's physique, guys. And is this last year, or is this the?
Could you step out of the thing? The director already told you 74 times. Thank you.
What are we looking at here, and what year is this? Is this the Arnold?
This is Arnold, yes. This is Arnold. So the history of Samson Dauda was this. Nobody really knew about Samson Dauda, but it was in 2019 at the British Grand Prix, where he placed second to Nathan Diasha. And James Hollingshead placed third. And on the final call out, it was him against Nathan. Nathan won. Nathan won that show, but then people started looking at, who the hell is this guy Samson Dauda? I like his lines, and he's a great poser. So that was his coming out of the world and saying, hey, I'm good. He wins the show in Poland, and he wins his qualification. He goes to Romania, places second. I think he was already resting. And then here comes the pictures. The thing about this guy is the lines. And listen, Chris is here. He almost has similar lines to Chris Cormier. If he adds the size and he has the conditioning, this could be the second real deal.
Well, Chris, this is what we talk about. These are the pictures, but he's put on, with Milos, amazing amounts of mass. That quad on the side, the arms, which are already massive, that side chest.
Yes, and like I said, when I critiqued him at the show, all the thing I noticed was his back. You want to call it baby back ribs, if you will. But he just needed more mass in the back. That's the only thing that's lacking in this pose right here. And right here, but you do see the separation, the rhomboids, the teres major and minor. You see all the middle traps. You need, if you had more lats here, and a little bit more width and thickness, then you're talking about someone that would have probably moved up into challenging for the top spot in the Arnold Classic.
And with a little bit more mid and low lat at those low lat attachments, it would have taken up the conditioning right there that was missing.
And then even right here, I would say, that oblique area, serratus area, you can build those muscles up because you don't want to just have a powerful physique. You want everything balanced, and you want that midsection to set off your physique when you compete. The hamstrings are great, as you see, and the quality on the side of the quad, all that stuff, you can hang with anybody with that.
No, you saw the social media post, right?
Yeah.
Did you see the social media post, Chris?
Yes.
That side chest is night and day from this one. The knees hiked up a little higher, and you've got all that good hamstring hang that you like. The quad is much bigger. Everything is just much bigger, but still maybe harder than right there.
Oh yes, and like I say, he's a dynamic competitor because of his ability to connect with his body and to move to the different styles of posing. He went through all of the legendary posers in his routine at the Arnold Classic. I was just so impressed with that.
I like where this guy is going, but I'm going to give a fair warning. I love the amount of size he's gaining, and he's gaining a lot of size very fast. His best pose, excuse me here, Tim,
coming through,
is going to be his side chest. And actually, the pose that went viral was his side chest. So you can see that if you add about 20 pounds of muscle here, this is going to be a sight to be seen. But there's a fair warning, and Chris knows this fairly well. When you put a lot of size very fast, everything grows.
On a short physique as well.
Correct. And what he needs to pay attention is, I love the vacuum here. What he needs to pay attention here is controlling the midsection, okay? Yeah. This could be an issue. Okay, this could be an issue. You come in looking huge, impressing everybody, but also that midsection now is bigger. Now we got issues. Now we got problems. So that's my fair warning.
That can ruin a physique.
Correct, yes.
For me, it's like, and you see right here, there's a little relaxed in that little area of right around his belly button. So
and side to side on the ab, you've talked about this a lot. Those heavy deads and heavy squats and all those things over time that will widen you.
Right.
That could take his taper away.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's gonna, and like I say, bodybuilding for myself, I said it many times, it starts with the midsection and it ends with the midsection, because when you hit a shot, you want to flare and you want to create an illusion of that you're bigger than you actually are, and that midsection can ruin all that stuff.
Well, one of my favorite philosophers once said, "Don't believe the hype." I believe that was Public Enemy. And we're going to see if don't believe the hype. We're going to see if all this great internet hype, what it amounts to at the Olympia this year. We've got some of these outliers. We're going to talk about them in a future episode of guys coming from the Charles Griffins and the Andrew Jackson blessings, where they're going to end up and who might be a spoiler in the top 5. Of course, they all think they're going to be number 1. But we've got all this coming up. We've got the Olympia just a few weeks away, and we are so very excited. As always, comment, and more than anything, share this with your friends who love the sport so they can be up to date on what we share here on Primetime Muscle, which is
just the facts, Tim.
Just the facts.
Just the facts.
For Tim Wilkins, and as always,
Shaft,
Hall of Fame, styling and profiling, the one and only Chris Cormier, and Tara Kilgindi, the man with the facts.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
We'll see you next time on Primetime Muscle.